Hey Screamers, Lewis here from FrightTour, back with our final review of the 2018 FrightTour. I unfortunately had to cut the tour short this year. I hoped for 10 spots. I rounded out with 8. If you are following the weather or live in the northeast area of the country, last weekend we got walloped by a nor'easter. So given the weather and personal and work life, I was unable to complete the tour this year. It's all right. I'm not going to let it get me down. We did experience 8 great places this year. Our final spot, our 8th spot on the 2018 FrightTour is none other than the very creepy, eerie, intimidating Pennhurst Asylum. This 3-attraction haunt is located just 2 hours west of us in Spring City, Pennsylvania. It's housed on the old Pennhurst grounds, and for those of you who don't know anything about Pennhurst, it is a former mental institution that closed in the late 1980s and pretty much since then has been left untouched until recently opening up as Pennhurst Asylum Haunted Attraction. When you get there, the buildings are still in their original state. Inside, there are beds, bedpans, toys, clothes, books, among other things. It's very creepy, and again, using the facade or the already pre-existing storyline of a place like Pennhurst Asylum is a great way to kind of beef up an attraction. So already going into it, I was very excited. I couldn't wait to experience it. A lot of paranormal activity has taken place at Pennhurst. It's been featured on many paranormal shows. So without any further ado, let's get right into the review and waste no time, beginning the night with the actual asylum itself. That was the first attraction. So we grabbed our tickets and made our way to the front entrance of the asylum, and as we came around the corner, the gigantic, massive queue line came into view, and I breathed a huge sigh of relief because thankfully we were there on a Thursday night, so it wasn't that crowded. But I can only imagine how long people have waited to experience these haunts by the size of this queue line. If you've waited more than 2 hours, please post a comment in the section below. I would love to hear about it. But luckily, we only had to wait 15 minutes. And while you're standing there, you're wedged in between 2 buildings. And like I said before, Pennhurst is already creepy. You don't really need to add anything to it. It's just creepy on its own because it literally looks like everyone just got up and left. So to me, the way I would go about it is I would have people stand in line and either leave it completely silent so that your mind can play tricks on you, or you can hear things and it kind of builds the anticipation, or play music that's fitting, like Midnight Syndicate. They've got a lot of songs that would fit the eerie, creepy sound, or just some kind of eerie, creepy music in general. Well, the approach that they took instead was filling your ears with very loud and annoying dubstep music. Now, don't get me wrong, I like dubstep, club, pop, I like that music, but to me, at a venue like Pennhurst Asylum, why are you playing that? That makes no sense. You're taking away from the natural I guess the ambiance of the attraction itself. You're completely taking away the creep factor. No one looked like they were enjoying the music or really even listening to it. I mean, it just filled your ears because it was like obnoxiously loud. Well, let me stop. I know, I'm sorry. I'm talking about music at a haunt, but I just can't help myself. You've got such a great venue like Pennhurst Asylum, and you play dubstep. What is wrong? Why would you play that? You should be building the anticipation. You should be getting these people that are waiting in line creeped out already before entering the first attraction, and you're playing dubstep. It doesn't creep me out. It doesn't build any kind of anxiety. It just makes me actually want to go and have a Long Island iced tea and dance all night. So, leaving the music behind us, it was time for us to finally experience the asylum, and as we stood there on the front stoop in front of the double doors, we were read our rules and we were told that we weren't allowed to touch anything or anyone, but yet we would be touched. And right off the bat, within 1 second, I was excited, nervous, and anxious all in one shot. I could not wait because I love a place where the actors are able to reach out and touch you. I think that it should be done more often. It adds a whole new level of intensity. So I was ready. The girl was ready. Me and Joe, we were pushed in, and here we go. Okay, so if you've ever experienced a mental institution style attraction, you would know that the main focus of the attraction is the actors. That is essentially what creeps people out about these style haunts. It's not the sets, it's not the design, it's not the layout. It is the actors inside that are relentless in how they act and throw themselves at you to the point where they make you very, very uncomfortable, which can create fear in itself. That is to me what a mental institution haunt should be. It should be something where the actors are the main focus. They take the top spot. With Pennhurst Asylum, I felt like the visual appearance of the attraction was number one. Number two was the actors. Visually, the place was beautiful. It had beautiful sets. It had beautiful props. There were padded rooms, hospital rooms, bedrooms, bathrooms. You really felt like you were walking through a mental institution. I mean, you were. It was Pennhurst. But I felt like I had been transported back in the day, and this is what the place looked like back then. However, that's all I had going for it. The actors, to me, I felt like either weren't their most skilled actors or were kind of restrained. No pun intended. But to me, I felt like the actors just kind of needed a little bit more of a push in the right direction. There was taunting, there was teasing, there was some screaming, but I feel like it was very less intense than what you were seeing. I mean, in fact, I got scared numerous times by animatronic props than the actors. The actors relied on them being mentally insane as a way to scare you. Like, they were visibly in plain view. You could see them. They weren't hiding anywhere waiting to pop out. They weren't grabbing you in the way I thought they would grab you. They were kind of like, they would come to you and be like, oh, you're here to play with me. We'll come into the next room and we'll play. And like, they were touching you on your back. That doesn't creep me out. That doesn't scare me. You're just using the fact that people are touching you as a scare factor. It didn't work. I felt like the actors needed to hide under tables and grab your ankles, or hide in a closet and lunge out and grab your shoulder, or hide behind or underneath equipment and pop up and bang and jump and scream and laugh. And I didn't get any of that. There were a lot of actors in there, and if they were all super insane, this place would probably be the most intense, craziest attraction that I've ever experienced, because already without the actors, like, you could have just like told them all to leave. I was already thoroughly creeped out by the set design. I thought at times, I was like, okay, this is like really, really creepy. I'm walking through like a padded room. This is like, am I going to be put into a straitjacket soon? I just wish the actors were as intense as some of the other asylum attractions that I've been through, where the actors are the main focus, and that is what makes it work. This place felt like the visual appearance was number one. After the asylum, you're immediately ushered into a line for the morgue, and the morgue is housed in the basement of the same building the asylum is in. Visually, again, this attraction is top-notch. I don't know who designs the sets at Pennhurst, but I have to commend you. They are absolutely exquisite. I really felt like I was walking through a morgue. There were different various coolers with a bunch of frozen bodies. There were body bags. There were different like medical rooms where organs were being removed, bodies were being dismantled. There were restrained patients. I visually, again, loved this attraction. I could have just removed the actors and walked through and took photos all night. In fact, if you guys want to invite me back on a night when no one's going to be there, turn on the lights and let me walk through for 3 hours and take tons of photos, I'm game. But it still suffered from a little bit of what the asylum suffered from. The touching was a little bit better. There was one part where I was walking toward a very blinding light, and as I came close, someone had lunged out, and I think they meant to grab my arms, but they grabbed my stomach, so it kind of tickled me, and it really startled me and made me jump back. To me, that is what the touching should be. You should startle people with the touching, like grabbing their ankle, their knee, an arm, a shoulder from somewhere where they don't know where it's going to come from, or a very subtle, like grazing of the back of the neck or the ear. To me, just using the touch as the scare, that's not effective. The acting inside was definitely a little bit better than the asylum. I definitely still felt like they could have used a little bit of a punch. To me, again, this place felt like the visual appearance was top priority to the acting. Again, I could have done it without the actors because I was just thoroughly creeped out about the set design, because you really felt like you were immersed into a morgue. It was long, it was dark, it was creepy, it was foggy. There were parts where you actually couldn't see. I enjoyed it. I felt like it was a good middle run. It wasn't terrifying, it wasn't bad. It was just your typical middle run type of haunt. After the morgue, you're put into a line for containment, and containment is housed in the underground tunnels that connect each building, so that way during a storm, staff could transport patients or transport themselves to different parts of the Pennhurst grounds. If you've ever read anything about the tunnels, they're already creepy on their own. I remember reading about them, and you could hear like people walking like hundreds and hundreds of feet away from you because it echoes. It's really quiet down there. So this to me was like, I was already like thoroughly creeped out going into this. And finally, I saw what Pennhurst really had under its belt. Containment was by far the best attraction of the night. It was set up like an infectious disease. Containment had horribly gone wrong. A lot of it looked like alien-style equipment that had been converted into something to do with like the T virus from Resident Evil or something like that. Blinking lights, loud sirens, loud beeping. It was very intense, very foggy. The acting in it was great. The touching. There was this one guy. I walked into this room, and as I came into the room, he came out from the corner behind me, grabbed me from the back of my shoulder, and pulled me back. That was absolutely awesome. Again, that's the way I would totally execute the touch aspect of these attractions. There were these guys that were in like complete black clothing, and they had these like, it looked like a microphone almost, but it kind of like rattled, buzzed, and like lit up and clicked. We were walking through the actual tunnels at one point, and I saw something off in the distance standing behind a crate, and I'm like trying to inspect what it is, like, because I couldn't see it. And then all of a sudden, like inches from my face, the lights lit up and it started crackling. I'm gonna be honest with you, I almost died. I honestly thought that I had been transported to heaven and I was sitting on a cloud, because it scared the crap out of me. Whoever you are with I think there's two of them with the little clickers, bravo to you. You scared the shit out of me. This attraction was totally worth the wait going through the asylum, going through the morgue. It was long. I was wondering when it was going to be over. And again, kind of a little weird. I'm not going to really hold much water to it because they were really creepy. And the touching, like the grabbing of the shoulder, the grabbing of the ankle. There was even a guy that touched the back of my head and I thought it was Joe, and it wasn't. Was these catacombs that you walked through at the end. And when you get to the end, it was really funny because there's this animatronic, or what I thought was animatronic was actually a person, comes lunging at you, and it startled Joe so much that I had jumped back, and as I was jumping back, he had pushed me forward, so it completely caught me off guard and completely scared me. It was the final scare of the night. I came out breathing heavy, and I was like, that is what Pennhurst should be all about. That is, the asylum and the morgue should be built off of the attraction, the Containment, and broadened from there. I felt like that is really what Pennhurst has under their belt. It was a great attraction to experience. I'm upset that I had to wait until the end to experience it. I wish the other two attractions were like that, but it was a good ladder. It was like the asylum, the morgue, Containment. Totally happy with the night. This place is definitely worth it if you are into the history of venues like Pennhurst. If you're into paranormal activity or anything like that, definitely worth it. Would I say that it was the scariest attraction I've ever been to? The hype that it has, the many awards and accolades that it's won, not so much. It's definitely still an awesome attraction. Definitely find yourself there on a Thursday or Sunday night, because that's probably when the lines are going to be the least longest. For us, though, Pennhurst was your middle-of-the-run haunt. Wasn't anything amazingly to write home about. I mean, Containment was. But the first two attractions I feel need some work actor-wise, and the touch feature. But for us, it was a good haunt. It was a good way to end the 2018 Fright Tour. I'm very happy with it. I'm glad I got to experience the infamous Pennhurst Asylum. And that's about it. Well, guys, that's pretty much it for 2018. Unfortunately, I am not going to any new haunts or any other haunts. It is pretty much over. So now starts the hard process for me in awarding our one spot, the Fright of the Year Award. The Fright of the Year Award is the one venue overall that was the scariest haunted attraction for us. This attraction will be back on our 2019 tour. It will receive a consecutive visit, and it will go up against a new roster of haunts next year that we've never been to and never experienced. If you are wanting to know what attraction out of the 8 that we have been to, what attraction that will be, you must follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel and our newsletter via our website. It saddens me to say this, but this is the last time you will hear me screaming. Until next year, guys, until 2019, happy screaming.